Math 3, Unit 5, Section 4. Today we're talking about multiplying and dividing rational expressions. We started talking a little bit about this yesterday when we talked about the conjugate. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Okay, so multiplying, same thing here. All we're going to do is distribute. I'm going to write this out so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so the first one, I am multiplying 3 times 2, which makes what?
6.
Good. Next step, I'm taking 3 times 4 root 5. You multiply the outsides with the outsides and insides with roots with insides. So what does that become? So here, we're going to go 3 times 4, which is 12 root 5. Good. Now we're going to distribute the next term. We have 2 root 5 times 2. So I'm going to write this as 2 times 2 root 5. Because again, the outsides go together and the insides. So what will that become?
4 root 5.
Good. And then this last one, we have 2 root 5 times 4 root 5. So I'm going to write this as 2 times 4, and then the roots go together, and we have 5 times 5. What happens when you have 2 of the same number under the root?
The root goes away.
Good, the root goes away, and that just becomes a 5. And so I have 2 times 4, which is 8, and then 8 times 5 is 40. The next step is just to combine like terms. So 6 plus 40 is 46. Since these both have root 5s, we can add them together, and that makes
60 root 5.
Very good. And that is my answer. Are there any questions you want to ask that you're not quite sure where those numbers came from? We're good? When you have anything with a plus or a minus and it's being squared, you can't take that square and distribute it through. Yes?
I was just going to ask about the 40.
About the what?
40 times.
So we took 2 times 4, which is 8, and then the pair of 5s makes just a 5 when you bring it out, and you multiply them together, which makes the 40. Okay, so on the next one, we can't distribute the power of 2 through there, and so we just write this twice. So you have root 7 plus root 3. If you like to write it out so you can see everything that's going on, that's great. If you don't want to write it out because you can do some of the multiplying in your head, that's also okay. I'm going to write this one out, though, as well. So we are going to first multiply by going root 7 times root 7. What is root 7 times root 7? 7. Good. Plus root 7 times root 3. So root 7 times root 3, they both get to go under the same root when we're multiplying because they're both roots. Can I break anything down or take anything out? No. So we just write this as plus root 21. Now we move on to our second number, and we have root 3 times root 7. So we put them under the same root. Can I take anything out? No. So we have plus root 21 again. And then the last one, root 3 times root 3, which just becomes 3. So notice when you have 2 terms multiplied by 2 terms, you always end up with 4 terms, and then you can combine like terms. Are there like terms here I can combine?
Yes.
Yes. So 7 plus 3 makes
10.
10. And then remember, if there isn't a number in front of these, there's actually a 1. And so that's going to end up making what?
2 root 2.
Perfect. Any questions on this problem?
So can you shrink down to 21 or no?
You could try, but we know that 21 is 3 times 7 and there's no pairs, so you can't take anything out. But you always do want to simplify if you can. Okay, moving on to the next problem. 10 plus 2 root 21. So each of these root 21s, if there isn't a number there, it's a 1. So these are both root 21, so we can combine them, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. So we're going to write these out again so that we can see them. Again, in your homework, if you don't want to write out each step, you don't have to. I just want us to see it in our notes. Okay? So 3 root 7 times 2 root 7. Outsides with outsides and insides with insides. So that means on this first one, I have a 3 times 2 and then a root 7 times 7.
6 times 7.
Does everybody see that? Okay, and so yes, 3 times 2 is 6, and then the pair of 7s is 7, and so 6 times 7 makes
42.
42. Any questions on that? Okay. Next we have 3 root 7 times negative root x. So I'm going to get a negative. On the outside I only have a 3, and on the inside I have root 7 times x. Is there anything there that I can simplify? No, I can't break down 7. I can't get any pairs. So that becomes minus 3 root 7x. We go to our next term, and I have negative root x times 2 root 7. So on the outside, what do I have?
Minus.
Good, a negative 2, and then root, and I have an x times 7. Can I take out any pairs of anything, break anything down? No, and so we'd write that now as minus 2 times root 7x, because we always write the number first and then the variable. All right, and then our last one here, I have a negative times a negative, which makes a positive, and we have root x times x, which what?
X.
Makes a pair, and it just becomes x, because there's 2 of the same thing. So I have plus x. Are there any like terms here that I can combine?
The root.
Good, both of those are root 7x, correct? And so negative 3 and negative 2, those add to make what? Good, negative 5. So I have 42 minus 5 root 7x plus x. You can write this in a different order. It doesn't matter, as long as you have all of the correct terms. Questions? Am I going too fast? No, we're okay? All right, next problem. Root 30 times root 6. I'm going to write this out again like I have been. So we have root, and I have 30 times 6. Can 30 break down to give me any pairs? What would 30 break down to? I'm going to break it down to 5 and 6.
Because you have a 6 right there.
Yes, and if we broke it down differently, you would have a group of 2s and a group of 3s, which will give you 6 as well. I just would prefer to do the least amount of work, but if it didn't work out that way for you, that's fine. Your final answer will still be the same. So how will I end up writing this one?
6 root 5.
Very good. 6 root 5 is correct. Any questions? Next term. Root 30 times root 5. So we have plus root and then 30 times 5. And how would you break down the 30 this time?
6 and 5.
6 and 5 again. And that gives us a pair of 5s with a 6 left over. How will I write that?
5 root 6.
Good.
Negative 5.
Actually, it's a positive.
So,
Positive 5 root 6. Those are positive times a positive. Now we go to the next one. And we have negative root 3 times 6, which will make a negative. And we write that as root 3 times 6. And can that break down? Yes, we can break that down because we get a 3 and a 2. So I get a pair of 3s and a 2 left over. How do I write that?
minus 3 root 2.
Good. Minus 3 root 2 is correct. And the last one here, negative 3 times positive root 5 makes a,
Root 15.
yeah, and I'm going to write this as negative root 3 times 5. But can I break that down at all to take out any groups? No, so we just multiply them together and we get negative root 15. Are there any like terms here that I can add together? No. So that's my answer. And again, it could be written in a different order. As long as you have all those terms, you are good. Questions? Okay, so this paragraph is talking about how you do not want a root in the denominator, and when you have two terms like this in your denominator, in order to get rid of it, you multiply by the conjugate. Do you guys remember what the conjugate is?
It's same numbers, different signs.
Same numbers, but the sign in the middle, if it's minus here, it'll be plus here. If it was plus here, it would be minus, correct? Okay, so in order to get rid of the 7 minus root 10, so we don't have a root in the denominator, we will multiply by the conjugate. And what will be my specific conjugate for this problem? Yep, 7 plus root 10 is correct. And whatever we do to the bottom, we also have to do to the top. Good. So we're going to go ahead and multiply here, just as we did up on top. And we get 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times root 10 is?
Plus 7 root
10. Good. And then we have negative root 10 times 7 is? Negative 7 root 10. Good. And negative root 10 times negative root 10 will make a, or sorry, negative root 10 times positive root 10 makes?
negative 10.
So all I did was distribute. 7 times 7 made 49. 7 times root 10 made the 7 root 10. Negative root 10 times 7 made the negative 7 root 10. And negative root 10 times positive root 10 makes a negative 10. I didn't show all my multiplication steps like I did before, but you can always do that. Okay? So these end up canceling out, which is what we want. And we end up with 49 minus 10, which is what? 39, not negative 39. 39. Are there questions there? We also have to distribute the top. 3 times 7 makes, and 3 times root 10 is. The only way you can reduce is if all of the terms can reduce by the same number. Can all of them reduce by the same number? Yes. What number can they all reduce by? 3. So 3 goes into 21 7 times. This 3, we can cancel it out. You can put a 1 there, but it's not necessary. And how many 3s are in 39?
13.
Very good. And so the final answer here is 7 plus root 10 over 13. If you end up with a root in your denominator, you did something wrong. So the purpose is to rationalize the denominator, get rid of the roots in the denominator. Okay. What is the conjugate of the next problem? Very good. Root 3 minus root 5. And whatever you do to the bottom, you also have to do to the top. I'm going to give you guys a minute to multiply this one on your own.
Yay.
When you get the answer, raise your hand and I will come by and check. Okay, do I have a volunteer of someone that would like to come up and do the problem
Do I get another candy?
for a candy? Yes? Somebody that doesn't have a candy want to come up? Max, do you want to come up or no? Okay, I'm going to go through it right now, but you have the right word. Okay, so when we are multiplying, what is root 3 times root 3? 3. Okay, root 3 times negative root 5 is negative root 15. Correct? Okay, root 5 times root 3 makes positive root 15. And then root 5 times negative root 5 makes negative 5. These cancel out, and we have 3 minus 5, which equals what?
-2.
Perfect. Then we distribute the top. Root 7 times root 3 makes root 21. And root 7 times negative root 5 makes
Negative root 35.
And you can see that these numbers, none of them can break down to make any pairs. Since you don't have any numbers in front of our terms, there's nothing to reduce. So this is your answer. And why can't you combine your roots?
Because they're not the same.
Very good. They're not the same. You can only add or subtract roots together if they are the same. Do we have any questions? You good? Are we ready for the next problem? Okay. What will be the conjugate on this?
2 plus 5 root 8.
Perfect. So again, notice that the only thing that's changing for the conjugate is just the sign in the middle. Whatever we do at the bottom, we also have to do to the top. Now, you have to be careful with these when you have the numbers in front, because sometimes it can get confusing. So it might be good to write this one all the way out. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 root 8 will be
10 root 8.
good, positive 10 root 8. Negative 5 root 8 times 2 makes
Negative 10 root 8.
good. And then this is the one that I might write out. So you have negative 5 times 5, which is
25 negative.
negative 25. And then we know that root 8 and root 8 will end up making.
8.
So what is negative 25 times 8?
200.
Negative 200. Good, because you can think of this as having 4 quarters. I mean, sorry, not 4 quarters, 8 quarters. And 8 quarters would make $2. Okay. These cancel. 4 minus 200 is what?
196.
Negative 196. So on the top, I have 2 terms times 2 terms there as well. So we have 3 plus root 8 and 2 plus 5 root 8. So we also need to multiply this one out. So I'm going to write this down here. Just put on my desk. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5 root 8 is
15 root 8.
then we have root 8 times 2, which is
Positive 2 root 8.
good. And then we have root 8 times 5 root 8.
40.
Positive 40. When I combine my like terms there, what do I get? 46 plus 17 root 8. Now, before I write it up here, do you notice anything that could be simplified here?
The 8.
The 8 can still be simplified, so you need to simplify it. What does 8 break down to be?
4, 2, 2, 2.
2, 2, and 2. So I have a pair of 2s and a 2 left over. So that means I have 46 plus, and what's 17 times 2? 34 root 2. Is there anything else I can do? Is there a number that goes into all three?
8. No, I'm just kidding.
2.
2. 46 divided by 2 is?
23.
34 divided by 2 is?
17.
And negative 196 divided by 2 is? So half of 100 is?
No, it's
50. A half of
it's
96.
98.
It's negative 98. So the final answer? 23 plus 17 root 2 over negative 98. Any questions? All right, so we have 2 problems to go. How do you find perimeter?
Add up both sides.
Add all the sides.
How do you find area?
How do you find the area?
Multiply the length times the width.
Okay, multiply length times width. Okay. Starting with the perimeter, when we want to find the perimeter, you need to know what every single side is. So if you have a rectangle and they tell you this side is 4 root 3 minus 2, what is this side?
4 root 3 minus 2.
And if this side is 5 root 2 plus 7, then
5 root 2. 4 root 3 minus
okay, what will I do to find the perimeter?
Add all 4 sides.
Add up all 4 sides. If you want to rewrite all 4 sides here to add together, you can. It's not really my favorite thing to do, but I'm going to go ahead and write that here in the notes. So I have 4 root 3 minus 2 plus I'm going to write 4 root 3 minus 2 plus we're going to add 5 root 2 plus 7 plus 5 root 2 plus 7. So notice that is all 4 sides. And then all we're going to do is combine our like terms. So we have a 4 root 3 and a 4 root 3, and there's no other root 3's, and what does that add to make?
8 root 3 plus
8 root 3 is correct. Then I'm going to move on to the 5 root 2's. I have a 5 root 2.
What about the minus?
I haven't added those yet.
Oh, are those
And
on
the-
the outside?
No, we're just combining like terms. So I have 5 root 2 and 5 root 2, which makes plus 10 root 2. And then I have left a negative 2, a negative 2, which makes negative 4, plus 7 makes, plus 7 makes 10. Can I break anything down here?
Yeah.
No.
No.
So they are.
So that is my answer. Does the order that I write this in matter? No, you just have to have all 3 of those terms. Area. Who thinks they know how to find the area? Kyle.
4 root 3 minus 2 times 5 root 2 plus 7.
Good. 4 root 3 minus 2 times 5 root 2 plus 7 is correct. We're just multiplying our length times our width. And we're going to do exactly the same thing that we've done through this entire section. So we're going to distribute. 4 root 3 times 5 root 2. We can write this out to make sure we don't make a mistake. So 4 times 5, because outside's to outsides. And then root, and I have 2 times 3 on the insides. And what does that simplify to be? Perfect. And we know nothing can break down because we can see it already broken down there, right? Next term, 4 root 3 times 7. So that means we have plus a 4 times a 7 and a root 3. Can I break anything down there? No. So we just multiply 4 times 7 together, which makes 28 root 3. Now we have negative 2 times 5 root 2. So we'll end up with the negative, and I have 2 times 5 and a root 2, which will make what?
Negative
And last, we just have negative 2 times 7, which makes negative 14. Is there anything that is a like term that we can combine together? So that's my answer. And again, does the order of my answer matter? No, just as long as you have all 4 of those terms, you are good. Any questions there? Okay, the last one just asks us to find the unknown. This is the unknown. Instead of writing it as 3 question marks, I'm going to write this as in X. We find area, or who thinks they know how to set up this equation? How would you write it out?
Would it be 11 plus 2 over x equals 7? Something like that.
How do you, okay, so what's the formula for finding area? I want us to start with that.
A equals L times 8.
Okay, A equals L times, I'm going to put W, length times width. Okay, so they're saying my area is 7. So if I were to plug in the information here, I would write this as 7 equals X times root 11 plus 2. Is everyone okay with that? Now we want to solve for X. We want to get X by itself. So right now these are multiplying. How do you undo multiplication? How will I get the X by itself? Division, good. And so in order to get X by itself, what would I actually divide by? No.
Root 11 plus 2.
Good, root 11 plus 2. And so that cancels it out. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. And so if you look right now, it's saying that X equals 7 over root 11 plus 2. Is that an acceptable answer?
Yeah.
No, why not?
Oh, there's a root in the denominator.
Root in the denominator. How will I get rid of the root in the denominator?
Multiply by
root 11.
Multiply by the conjugate. Good. So what is the conjugate?
Root 11 minus 2.
Root 11 minus 2. I would normally have you do this one on your own, but for time's sake, we're going to do it together. So root 11 times root 11 is 11. Root 11 times negative 2 is?
Positive negative 2 root 11.
Good. 2 times root 11 is?
Positive 2 root 11.
And 2 times negative 2 makes? These cancel out. We get 11 minus 4, which is?
7.
If I didn't get rid of my root in the denominator here, that would be a clue that I did something wrong. 7 times root 11 is?
7 root 11.
And 7 times negative 2 is?
Negative 14.
Can I reduce it all?
Yeah, 7.
Good. So the 7 cancels out, this 7 cancels out, and this 14 becomes a?
Negative 2.
These ones that canceled out are really 1s, but I don't have to write them. And so when I write my answer, it is root 11 minus 2. Do I need to put this over 1? No. So there's my answer, root 11 minus 2.
It's a conjugate.
Which is actually the conjugate of this. Huh. Okay.